I'm going to call the meeting to order. Sorry for being a minute late. Please call the roll.
Ham.
Here.
Toohill.
Yes.
Esty.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Okay, Council, are there any changes to the agenda tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the April 22nd, 2024 council meeting. Approval of the April 26th, 2024 payroll in the amount of $150,277.07. Approval of the May 10th payroll, $149,784.26. Consent of park use permit for Fairfield First Baptist Church. Consent of park use permit for Live on the Square. Park use permit for Beautification Commission. Approval of the February finance report. And approval of the March finance report. Resolution of employment of a telecommunications specialist. Resolution of employment for the police department. Resolution of employment in the park and recreation department. Resolution of employment in the water department. Acceptance of museum board minutes. Acceptance of Beautification Commission minutes. Approval of liquor license for Everybody's Whole Foods, Pizza Hut, and Localized Store. Approval of Iowa Department of Revenue, ACH payment in the amount of $25,029.94. Approval of a special claim, the WEX in the amount of $3,931.73. Approval of total claims in the amount of $541,344.01. We have one claim over $75,000 to Morris Enterprise for $79,178.75. And that is, what just says service?
That's Jefferson and 9th Street.
Okay.
Water.
Gotcha. Thank you. Okay.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Esty, second by Toohill. Any other discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Esty.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Okay, we have two public appearances. First is Deb Williamson from the Beautification Commission.
Evening. So I wanted to speak with you this evening and give you an update on the sidewalk situation. So as you know, the sidewalks are a bit crumbly and cracked. We did attempt to power wash them for the street sweepers ball and were unsuccessful. And so there was no way to get like the grime and the oils and stuff off the sidewalk for fear of shattering the windows with the power washer. We've swept, we've weeded, and I really think that it's time to have a discussion about instituting a downtown sidewalk repair program. And so that's my request.
So, maybe Doug, do you want to give an update of the conversation we had the other day with iCapital about the risk mitigation person coming down?
Yeah, so we are going to do an evaluation. We're going to have our insurance company come and evaluate priority streets or priority sidewalks. The biggest problem with the sidewalk rehabilitation program is typically funds. It's where do we find them? How do we do that? Do we impose that on to the local businesses downtown? But finding, figuring out that piece of, do we hire street employees to, and have a sidewalk crew? How do we fund that? Do we assess properties downtown? Do we impose, or do we go out and recruit a self-sustaining municipal improvement district to have those funds put into that? But yes, that is on our radar, and that's what we're looking for.
And we're really trying to formalize a sidewalk program all over town and get that on some kind of rolling program, so there's always being updated. So hopefully in the next 2-3 months or so,
Oh, that's fast.
we will have something more concrete. I mean, it's not going to be an overnight fix, mind you.
Yeah.
And it's going to take participation by owners as well. So, but
That's great. I
we
just
are
wanted
heading
to give
down
you
that road.
the feedback from, like, we're sort of at our end of what we can do
Yeah.
to make it pretty.
Right?
Pretty rough. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Terry Baker.
I am thrilled to be here tonight to talk to you about something that is close to my heart and to the heart of our community, and that is travel and tourism. Big surprise. Next week is going to be National Travel and Tourism Week. This is a week when DMOs, CVBs, and small towns, large towns, any town that wants to be a destination band together and declare that tourism is a very vital and important part of their organization and their community.
What's a DMO?
Destination Marketing Organization. It's another term for a CVB. So to that end, you're going to hear a lot of things next week about economics, about the economics of the visitor, how much spending happens in a community, where that spending goes, how it impacts the community and the overall economy of the community. But I want to take a minute and just pull back the spreadsheets for a little bit and talk about something else related to travel and tourism. And I want you to think back to a time when you had a getaway. Maybe it was a weekend, maybe it was a once-in-a-lifetime trip. But think about the anticipation of planning that trip, the joy of kind of researching everything, the anticipation of going on that trip and where you're going to, what you're going to do and who you're going to meet up with. That is the part of tourism that is vitally important and the seed from which tourism grows. It is that human element, the need to connect, the need to make memories, the need to be with family, with friends, to try new things, new tastes, new sounds. Those are the things that really build that tourism industry. And I think that's something to remember. And my role as a CVB director is to be sure that I'm connecting to the consumer with that and telling them the stories about what they can expect when they're here in Fairfield. Because at the end of the day, every small town in the Midwest is competing for someone to drive to their town and spend their money. And my end of the day is I want Fairfield to be on that bucket list. So for that reason, I am asking council and the mayor to please sign the proclamation declaring that next week is going to be National Travel and Tourism Week in Fairfield, where we're celebrating tourism as an industry and the economic impact that it has. Remembering that in our industry, we like to say that when you have a place that people like to visit, you have a place that people want to move to. When you have a place that people want to move to, you have a place where businesses need to be because there's a workforce there. And it all starts with that visit and building that visitor economy.
Great. Do you want to read that proclamation?
I do, but it's like proclamation wording, so we'll see if I can get it out. Whereas the travel and tourism industry contributes $2.8 trillion to the nation's economy, supporting 15 million American jobs and generating $83 billion in state and local tax revenue. Whereas maximizing growth for travel and tourism is vital for Fairfield's economy, driving growth and competitiveness. Whereas in Fairfield, travel accounts for $20 million in direct visitor spending annually, with a total economic impact of $30 million. Whereas small businesses, comprising over 60% of leisure and hospitality employment, benefit significantly from travel and tourism. Whereas travel and tourism is an essential industry and we must continue to communicate that growing travel leads to economic growth, serves as a catalyst for local prosperity, benefits businesses, fosters mutual understanding, and connects the nation. Whereas the promotional efforts of Visit Fairfield CVB play a critical role in driving tourism to our community, creating an essential cornerstone for economic development.
Great. Thank you.
Great,
I'm
thank
happy
you.
to sign that for you.
Thank you. Do you have the nice copy, or do you want this? This is
I don't have the nice copy. Well, maybe you emailed it to me.
I did.
You did email it to me. Sorry, I didn't print it off.
Thank you.
I'll get that one to you. Great. Thank you. And
No council action is necessary.
I don't think so. Nobody's going to object, are they?
Do whatever proclamation she wants.
Okay.
And so, Terry, you might want to stay up there because we're going to move on to resolution action items and ordinances. The first ordinance is consideration of the RAGBRAI 2024 ordinance. And so, Terry, do you want to highlight anything particular here on this ordinance before I open it up into the
Sure.
public domain, and then we'll vote on it?
So as you all know, July 26th, it's going to be very busy in town. And the ordinance that we're presenting to you is based on the ordinance that we had in 2019 when RAGBRAI came through as an overnight stay. This particular ordinance basically helps us generate the funds that we need to maintain this event. And it also helps to protect the riders by controlling where vendors are located, and that all vendor applications must go through our organization, and everyone must pay a vendor fee if they would like to sell anything to the riders as they come through town. So we've been instructed by the RAGBRAI organization to maintain this particular an ordinance like this, simply because if we have people at the corner of Liberty Drive and Libertyville Road trying to sell lemonade and cookies or whatever, and the riders start stopping there to do different things, we have the potential for a lot of accidents that can happen, as well as it holds up all the riders. You can imagine when they're riding 5, 6, 7 bicycles wide and coming in a big stream. So we're trying to maintain everything and have everything in the downtown area where we can have it traffic controlled, where we can have ensure some safety for the riders.
So this is similar to what we had last time.
Exactly.
And I know we have time for 3 ordinances, but are you hoping to get this passed here in May?
We do need to submit this to the health inspector. That's so that they're on board and they know and they're asking for it now. So the sooner we can do it, obviously, the better. But.
Okay. Okay. So, I'm going to open the public hearing. Does anybody want to speak about this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. So, council, you have it in front of you. I guess if, you know, it's going to be up to you whether you want to have it on another council agenda here in May, or if you're comfortable with suspending the rules and passing it tonight, and so we can push it on up to the state.
So we can move to suspend the rules and pass the ordinance this evening?
Well, yeah, you could.
Okay, I would make that motion.
All right. I have some corrections to make, so I was going to recommend.
Okay, but I make the motion to suspend the rules and vote to pass the ordinance this evening, but that's my motion, okay?
Second. Second.
Okay, so it's been moved to suspend the rules and pass it to the 3rd reading.
Yes.
Okay, discussion. Doug, you have discussion.
Yeah, in the first paragraph, line 2, the words "and the RAGBRAI" are repeated, so that needs to be struck once. One copy needs to be struck. But section 2, for the vouchers, purchase, you want them purchased from the Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce, right? Or not? Who do you want them purchased from?
Purchase what from?
The vouchers or the
permits?
Permits, yeah.
The permits, they actually, so the permits they're going to purchase through the Fairfield RAGBRAI committee.
Well, it meant, right, but it says Iowa Convention and Visitors Bureau, and then also mentions Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce. Is that both correct?
Yes, because we're functioning as the co-chairs for the event.
All right, I thought maybe one of them was extra, so.
No, we're teaming up.
Okay, but then.
So they could go to either place and
That
do
makes
this.
sense, but then in section 5, it doesn't mention the Chamber of Commerce, just mentions the Visitors Bureau.
Oh, that was just an oversight then. Yes.
So then we should add that back into the section 5.
That would be great. Mhm.
And then the
Oh, that
last,
address needs changed too. It says 200 North Main.
Question on
Yes.
Doug's
Right.
question, then what are you gonna do after you have the permits issued by the chamber or by your CVB?
Well, see,
How does the council approve those and follow our notice requirements and our agenda requirements?
so this is the process that will happen. The vendors will make an application through our vendor committee. They're doing that in real time in paper form, right? So with a check and everything. Then our committee will go through and approve those vendors based on, do they fit what we're doing, and do we make sure we don't have too many people doing pie or whatever. So once we have that list approved, then that list comes to council, to whoever needs to approve that here, just for a verification that that works for you guys. Then it also has to go to the health inspector for their consent. So there's a lot of different rubber stamps that have to go on that.
All right, well, ours won't be rubber stamps, and we gotta have probably at least an agenda notice period ahead of the council approving it, even if you recommend everybody 100%. You need prior Wednesday?
Well, when we have vendors come in, normally they just go before the planning zoning department.
All right, so
They don't go
they
before
do
council.
it without bringing it over here.
Correct.
All right.
And this ordinance is basically waiving any fees processing they go through the city. That allows us to collect that vendor fee to basically cover the expenses for the event.
Okay, the last correction I have is section 14, specially authorized by the Committee of Fairfield Public Safety. Probably should read authorized by the Transportation and Public Safety Committee
Okay,
of the council. That's all.
sounds good.
Question, Terry, why do these end at 5 p.m.? And I know it's just supposed to be a pass-through for lunch, but what if people stick around and they're still in the beer garden after 5?
They won't be.
Beer garden doesn't close till midnight according to your
No,
ordinance.
it closes at 1:30 in the afternoon.
In the afternoon.
1:30 in the afternoon, and then, so entertainment and the beverage garden close at 1:30. If anyone is still around, any of the riders are still around at 3 p.m., Highway Patrol comes through and chases them out of town, essentially, and then we're in cleanup mode.
I don't think your section 13 says that,
Yeah.
unless I'm missing something.
We could have missed something again.
Says it shall cease at 12 a.m., which I took to be midnight.
The beverage garden, I thought I fixed that, edited that part, but that's okay. I believe you.
Yeah, it does say that.
12 a.m. on July 26th too, so I don't,
So that would be midnight, the day they arrive.
right.
Yep.
So that's correct.
So we'll need to adjust that. Basically, the beverage garden is going to shut down at
Gonna shut
1:30.
down before the-
Vendors are going to be allowed to sell until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but the beverage garden will close at 1:30.
Okay, so we got changes. There's duplication in paragraph 1. Section 5 is we need to add the chamber and fix your address. Section 13 is the time change. Section 15 has to do with the Director of Public Safety.
14, section 14.
Committee.
Oh, okay. That's what I wrote, and then I thought, oh, that's not right. Okay.
It's changed to committee, right? Committee of, was it changed to?
It should read authorized by the Transportation and Public Safety Committee.
Committee.
Whatever the appropriate name for that committee is. Might be Public Safety and Transportation.
Public safety, it's public safety and transportation.
So Public Safety and Transportation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are all the fees the same as they were last time they came through?
No, the fees are less.
They're less. Oh, that's exciting.
Because they're not here as long.
Last time, I believe, they were $600. This time it's $300.
Wow.
That's pretty much what a pass-through town,
I see.
what they recommend for pass-through towns.
Okay. Okay, so,
First and second to suspend.
yeah, but do we need to add to the motion about with these changes?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, right now, the motion is just to suspend the rules.
I thought you did it all in one swoop, no? Just to suspend the rules?
Motion to suspend the rules and pass the ordinance. I think that's
Oh,
what
you
the
did
motion
the
was. Yes,
compound
I
motion.
did.
Yes, he did.
How about that?
Yes, he did.
Doug hates those.
So, yeah. So, can you add to it with these four
Motion to,
changes?
okay, I move to suspend the rules and pass the ordinance with the amendments made this evening at council.
Second.
Okay, second by Toohill. Further discussion.
Can you re-recite the amendments we just made?
She's got them.
Yeah.
Becca's got them?
No, well,
Yeah.
Mayor Boyer has
First
them.
page is, the first paragraph has to do with duplication. Talks about and RAGBRAI.
Yeah.
Section 5, we need to list the chamber and their address and change CVB's address from, away from 200 North Main to 107
107 North Main.
North Main. Section 13 is a time change from 12 a.m. to, what is it,
1:30 to
1:30
consume
1:30 p.m.
and 3 p.m. to sell.
1:30 p.m. is the closing time for the beverage garden, 3 p.m. is the closing time for the vendors.
So stop selling at 1:30 PM or
Stop
Gonna
selling at the
be
beverage garden.
more specific? Okay.
Yep. And then section 14 should say public safety and transportation committee.
You already have a second?
Yeah, we have a
Okay.
second. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? I'm just watching John to make sure he doesn't have any more questions.
No, no, no.
On anything
I
else.
think
Okay, legally.
Do your
Okay,
vote.
go ahead and call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. That
Thank you.
was approved. Good luck, Terry. We know you and Mandy are up to here.
In the deep water.
We got it handled.
Good. And you've got a good crew behind you. I know that.
You have three chairs, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Who's the
We need
third?
to leave, Tom?
Montserrat.
We need to leave?
Okay, next action item, consideration to set public hearing to rezone Walton Park subdivision for Tuesday, May 28th, 2024 at 7 p.m.
I move that we set a public hearing to rezone Walton Park subdivision for Tuesday, May 28th at 7 PM.
Second.
Moved by Esti, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Esti,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Thank you. Passed unanimously. Next action item, consideration to set public hearing for fiscal year 24 budget amendment for Tuesday, May 28th, 7 p.m.
So moved.
Moved by Gandy.
I will
Second by
second.
Ham. Thank you. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Next action item is consideration of engineering services agreement with French Reneker Associates for Walton Club Golf Cart Bridge replacement. And Marcus is here from French Reneker. I think we talked about this, that bridge needs to be replaced. And so you want to talk about this agreement?
Yeah, so this agreement is just to look at the different concepts at replacing that golf cart bridge. It's proposed to look at 3 different options. The 3 options we're looking at is widening the 200th Street top there to widen that to allow golf carts and cars to be on that road. The second option is to look at just replacing that existing bridge with another bridge. It'd be probably a pre-engineered bridge where it's basically just shipped to you and then it's constructed there by a contractor. You'd have to pour new abutments and everything like that. And then the third option would be replacing that with like kind of a culvert and dam situation where you'd have a pretty big pipe and have just the water pass through the culvert. This is just kind of looking at each of these options conceptually to get a cost estimate, kind of get a good idea which options are, how much each option will cost, and kind of look at it long-term wise too for maintenance purposes. So, and the agreement is for $9,800.
And you would have those options to us in June.
That is
Correct.
the plan, yes.
I'm a little confused about the 200th Street widening. Is that temporary or permanent?
It would look at it permanently. It was brought up by Melanie to look at that option to widen the 200th Street to have golf carts and cars go on that street. There would be, it was just an idea to look at that option.
And then no bridge.
Then there would be no bridge there. It's just an idea to look at, an option to look at.
And then we need to snake that back to the clubhouse.
Correct. It was to look at that idea to get the golf carts to look at there. There is a little bit of concerns with because it would be the golf carts would driving on the roads, and there would also be maybe some safety concerns with pedestrians because there are some people that walk the golf course there at Walton Club, so it would cause maybe a little bit of concern for pedestrian, was people walking on that, and then because you'd have more high-speed traffic on that road, so.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Toohill, second by Flournoy. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Toohill,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Okay, we're praying for cheap options.
Hey, Marcus, before you sit down, there's about 100 golf members out at Walton, the way I understand it. Are you gonna kind of take the temperature of them as far as, because I know some of them for exercise do pull carts and do the pedestrian thing instead
Yes,
of cars?
yes, I don't know the number of how many people use golf carts or push pull carts. I can look into that to see what percentage of golfers use the golf carts compared to just walking. And
Yeah,
kind
it'd
of
be a
get that.
pretty good hike with a golf cart behind you pulling if you're
Yep.
old like some people that go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Two guys I know that walk are pretty old.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
next action item, consideration of updated fair housing strategies for communities participating in the CDBG program. Just so you know, this came up, we had a conference, a Zoom meeting, I guess, Teams meeting with Area 15 and the state, and we went over the garden, garden food initiative and everything that we're required to do. They, make sure they had their T's crossed and their I's dotted. And this came up that when it comes to the fair housing, which is part of the language in here, there wasn't a contact at City Hall. So at the very end, you will see we have added this last paragraph. Inquiries should be directed to the city administrator or designee and our address and phone number. And so that's really what we've added to this agreement here.
So I make a motion that we adopt this document.
Second.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Esti. Any other questions or discussion?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So these activities that have to be implemented, who's responsible for implementing those? The city?
Well, yeah, what do you mean, all of these activities?
Well, you have to do 2 out of 3, I think, something like that. I'm just wondering who, it's the city's responsibility, not anyone else's.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Great, thank you. Approved unanimously. Next action item, consideration of parking lot at B Street and Broadway Avenue. Who's gonna talk about this?
Mr. Marcy?
Sure. There's interest on the part of a developer, the old Armory Building group that's expressed, well, right now it's a question, but I think it's expressed as an intent to make a gift. And years ago, Danielson's gave us part of that parking lot, and then I believe we bought a house to make the lot bigger. And right now the lot is used every day for a little overflow parking at the Legion VFW. And it's also the back part of it that I call the site of the former house has different people parking their contractor vehicles and things, sometimes there for days at a time. Usually somebody that's working a project in the uptown area, they may leave their stuff there, but sometimes it's there for quite a while. It's not a designated 12-hour or 24-hour or 48-hour lot. We have one of those over next to the railroad tracks on 4th Street. I call it the old Eclipse site. But what the interest is in that lot right now is they'd like to pave it, quality pavement, multiple inches of asphalt, and mark it as painted stalls in a parking lot that would be more permanent, and then have some understanding about its use after hours. And that would be so it could facilitate events at the Armory, but also other people could use it for other events besides what's going on at the Armory. But the idea is, if they make the gift, can we make them comfortable about it? And I don't think they're looking to have heavy strings attached to this, but as far as what my impression is, it's one of those things where if we accept the gift subject to some understandings that it's being done so that it also facilitates after-hours use, it raises a few other questions. I mean, if we're agreeing that that's the way it's going to be long-term, then we probably have to have a public hearing on it. If it's going to be used that way for more than 3 years, we definitely have to have a public hearing on it. But it's pretty much a gift and not a lease. And so I don't want to call it a lease as far as being your legal representative, but at the same time, I want there to be some understanding probably that we'd put some signs up that say 2-hour use or 4-hour use or something like that if you're stopping in at the VFW to have a beer. We don't want to disrupt the things that's the norm over there. But then after hours, I would say a lot of the crowd from the VFW aren't going to be hanging around by the time people are showing up for an entertainment event at the Armory. So that's the way I understand what they want to do. The city received the parking lots that surround the VFW Legion building over there as gifts from the Danielsons primarily, and there weren't any strings attached to those, except that they be used for city greatest benefit for greatest number parking. And I think they are right now. So probably that's a starting point to explain what I think is supposed to be going on there. And that's your understanding, isn't it, Doug?
Yes, sir.
So, but as far as how the council wants to handle it, and if you want to put some limitations on it and so forth, I mean, this is the starting point. We certainly can explore this more with the people that want to make the gift.
Well,
And-
I have a question. What's the frequency of their expected use of that lot for events?
Don't know yet, Doug. Don't know.
I mean, could we just put up a restricted for event parking? Whenever they have an event, I mean, is it, or do they want to have it available anytime they decide they're going to do something and not talk to us?
I think they're gonna have businesses in there
Yeah, they're
operating
gonna
every
have
day
some,
too, so
yeah.
they're gonna want parking every day for it, not just evening events, so.
And they
I'm
just
assuming, I
want to
don't know
make
that.
it nice too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and John, my question is, and I know we've talked a couple different things, and maybe we're not there yet, because we need to have more discussion with them about, are we just gonna let them redo it? Is that, are we getting a bid under the city, and then they're gonna reimburse us? Do we know that yet?
Can I make a motion just to send it to Public Safety and Transportation and let them come and talk to the
Okay.
committee?
Okay,
Well, okay, I agree with that, but could we just have them write up a proposal of what they would like to do and see, and then present it to public safety?
Public
Right.
Safety and Transportation.
It
Sounds all
seems
right.
pretty
So-
vague right now.
Yeah.
In terms of,
So I'd second that motion.
what the request
okay,
is.
so it's been moved to, move it to public safety and transportation. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign? Okay, we'll get it over there and you can
You bet,
request
you bet.
to have them
Okay.
come. Okay. Consideration of Main Street support, Ways and Means, do you want to talk about this, Tom, now that we're here?
Yeah, we met earlier tonight, and Main Street, the Main Street program that we just have discussed in the past. To further the application, you need to have $75,000 ready for commitment if approved as one of the 2 recipients of the program. They've already currently secured $60,000 in commitments for this coming year. They're looking for an additional $15,000, and as a committee, we recommend to council to pledge support of an additional $15,000 for this coming year out of lost funds, with future commitments being requested yearly, not, and making no future commitment. If we're not one of the 2 recipients, then nothing is done with the 15,000. So this will not be paid unless we make it to that final step, so.
And the money wouldn't be due until November.
Right.
And that's only if we get the
Approval.
approval,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Project, okay.
So it's our understanding there's been 6 communities apply, and they're only planning on taking 2.
Right.
So, we don't know.
So I make the motion that we commit $15,000 to the Main Street program.
Okay, moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Estee. Any other discussion?
Just one note, I attended that meeting, and just so the public knows, that money, all the money pledged, if the city, the Main Street we were fortunate enough to get that designation, would stay in Fairfield.
Yes.
Would stay in Fairfield, doesn't
Yep.
go
Well,
outside the
it's
city.
going to be used to hire an executive director
Right.
who will run the program.
In Fairfield, yeah.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Okay, the next action item is kind of, goes right along with this, but I put it on separate just in case we weren't gonna pledge any money, but we still wanted to have a letter of support. So this would also come with a letter of support from me to say we're on board with this, so, if you.
Make a motion that we ask the mayor to write a letter of support for the Main Street program.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Toohill. Any other discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
The last thing is, if we are accepted, there will be its own board. And I would like for you to consider to have our board appointment be Paul Gandy as Chair of Economic Development. So have that in place so they know who their city rep is.
Right, I think that is, I didn't actually quite volunteer for this position, but I'm happy to serve, and I think it would be appropriate as chair of the Economic Development Committee to be part of the Main Street Initiative, and I'd be happy to work with the team that's being assembled. So hopefully I'll get that support.
Make the motion that we approve that appointment.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Esti. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great, thank you. Next is, I'll open the public hearing. This is the matter of annexation of Northridge Addition. And does anybody want to speak to this? Is that Mr. Malloy coming up, or is he leaving? You're leaving. That's what happens when you get up, Ed. So I guess Martin will say a little something here.
Well, I'm here because you asked, but I think that we've already gone over it several times, that it's just an annexation of lots next to the city limits of Reef. Near the North Campus Village and the trail, and everything's voluntary, nothing controversial, if we're ready to be part of the city.
Great. Thank you very much. Anybody else want to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, and the next resolution is that consideration of the annexation of the Northridge Addition.
So moved that we would receive this matter of annexation of the Northridge Addition.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved by Ham, second by Toohill. Any other questions? No, please call the roll.
Ham,
Aye.
Toohill,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
The next resolution, again, has to do with Vastu Partners to provide support of tax credit application for their project. So in here, I wrote down as notes 75,000 per unit, because that's the max we have on our tax abatement, be for 3 years. So,
Yeah, this is all done through tax abatements. I would
Yep.
make the motion to support. Let me see where the motion is here. To provide support of tax credit application for Vastu Partners LLC.
okay, moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Esti. Any other questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Thank you. Approved unanimously. Consideration of tax abatement application for 2803 West Grimes Avenue. This is the property owned by Dylan Fry and Danielle Hill.
I'm sorry, did you have something, Martin?
I did, sorry to interrupt.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
We just, Tom just noticed that the annexation in the agenda says the 4 lots of the reef parcels, and the MUM 2 lots that were formerly the Spees parcels are part of this.
They're not
Map.
included in the,
They're not included in our map?
they're not included in the resolution? I'm asking, I'm sorry.
They should be included in
They
the
are.
resolution.
The plot numbers are on
Yes.
Agenda, but not in the resolution? What,
As long as it's in the resolution, he's just looking at the agenda before we got too far.
there's 6,
One,
there's 6
two,
parcels.
three,
Should be
four,
the same.
five. There are 6 tax parcels in
There's
the
6 tax
resolution.
parcels in the,
In the resolution.
the, yeah, yes, there are.
Do the numbers match?
You'll look at the last
But you only
two.
have 4 to
Is
read.
Keith here?
06,
2 are MIU
86,
Spees.
54.
Yes.
Yeah.
sorry,
No, it's good
false
to check.
alarm. Yeah,
It's good to check.
all right, thank you very much.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
Bet.
Thanks. Okay, back to application for 2803 West Grimes. This is for Dylan Fry and Danielle Hill. Again, this is just normal application here, and
I move that we approve the tax abatement application for 2803 West Grimes Avenue.
moved by Flournoy,
Second?
second by Ham. Any other questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Just a side commentary, since I know the family. I mean, it's great that we've
Yes.
got young entrepreneurs doing stuff. It's really great. Brother and sister team. It's really nice. Last resolution, consideration of naming depositories. This is adding Libertyville Savings Bank because of the library. The library has some money in their memorial funds at Libertyville Savings Bank, so we needed to add them to our depositories.
I make the motion to approve the resolution naming the depositories.
Great. Moved by
Second.
Flournoy,
Second.
second by Esti. Any other questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Under the mayor's report, I have 2 beautification commission appointees. Deb brought these to me, and so Phillippa Mecham and Patricia Cooley, and she's asked that, are these our people?
This is Patricia and Phillippa.
Great, thank you for coming, and we appreciate all your work that you're gonna be doing, and probably have already been doing. And so I take a motion to accept these 2 appointees.
So moved.
Moved by Esti.
Second.
Second by Gandy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great, thank you. Have fun. And you got a couple projects coming up this weekend, right?
This weekend, yeah, big spring planting party. We'll probably be covering the square with volunteers and hundreds of plants.
Great. It'll be beautiful once it's done. Thank you so much. Regarding the community mural, Shanaz came to us, I think it was last meeting, and discussed the mural. She went and talked to Mr. Stanley, and she wanted his buy-in to put the the smaller mural on the Petrus Park, and he preferred that it not be there. So she has secured 2 other spots. One's going to be on the Collab building, and then she went out to Chautauqua Park and talked to Pam, and Pam gave permission. So that's just an update that, and it would be kind of on that entrance as you drive into the park and turn the corner there, it'd be in that location. So I passed out a copy of it that kind of has a brown background, and you'll notice it says bloom and grow. I think that's what it says on the back, which was the theme for the mural as well. Hy-Vee is going to pay for these signs, so it's a nice little.
It's gonna have Hy-Vee in the bottom there.
Yeah,
Nice.
apparently, yeah. So they're the ones paying for the signs.
Yeah.
And they are 2.5 feet by 4 feet. So that's where those will go. That's an update on that. The last thing is we had a 911 meeting last week to talk about radio purchases, and so we authorized basically Mr. Farrell to, I guess, I don't know if you're ordering these radios or the sheriff is? Sheriff is, okay. We're gonna be spending about $120,000 for 3 mobiles. These go in vehicles. 12 portables. These are the ones that they wear, you know, on their person. And there's plenty of money in the budget because we haven't hardly spent anything this year for radios. And I can tell Doug has a question.
It's 911 money, right? Comes from the
Yes.
federal government?
Yes. Anything else we should say, Brett? Do you have anything to add, really? Yeah, come up here if you got something to add. I just wanted to, you know, hit the high notes on that and just to let people know what was happening at 911.
Yeah, so we usually budget, last 2 years we budgeted $75,000 for radio equipment. And we haven't spent it. We were looking at other options at one time for fire departments for mobile radios, but it hasn't been spent. We would have to do a budget amendment this year because that would take us over what we budgeted this year, but that money rolls back over in the 911. It's surcharge money that everybody pays on their 911. We get it from the state, so the sheriff's department needed, and they've never asked for radios through 911. They bought 12, I believe, mobile vehicle radios in the last 2 years for their own vehicles. So we brought it to the board, and also including that total, it's about $130,000 because EMA or me has a different vehicle that needs a radio in it to respond, so that would be part of that purchase.
Yep.
Do these all go to the sheriff's department, or do they go to the Fairfield Police Department also?
These ones will go to the sheriff's office.
Yeah, the 3 mobiles and the 12 portables, and then there'll be additional for Brett.
Yep. So the 911 money is mainly spent, most of it's spent on its radio communications or communications bands, so that could be pagers, radios, equipment for the dispatch center, anything that has to do with a 911 call from the time it's initiated to the time to it ends up being done is eligible for 911 money.
Some of the current radios, okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Some of the current radios that they have will go, then they're going to be passed down to jailers.
Yes,
he mentioned.
the portals.
So when you change the radios with the sheriff's department in your team, is that going to cause a consequence with the Fairfield Police Department?
No, actually, these radios are dual band radios that will support the ISIX radio system, which is what the PD is using, to be able to talk on trunk systems, talk groups. It won't affect any of the communication. And the sheriff's department's already updated their mobiles in their vehicles. The reason they want 3 more, they've got a new SRT band that needs to be outfitted with the radio, and then they have 2 other vehicles that need mobile radios in with repeaters. The portables will just be handheld radios that are synced up with their, so they're all, PD and the sheriff's department now have the same technology.
Yeah, thank you for giving a little more detail. That's basically all we did at 911 last week. So
And that's a countywide service, so that's why it's being sent to the sheriff's department and not to the Fairfield Police, because it's countywide. So is everybody in the county. That's what I'm pointing out.
That's probably what
Brett, go
countywide
ahead.
means. That's what countywide means.
So, yeah, the 911 money, anybody in the county is eligible, including all fire departments. Also, fire departments that are not paged in this county, such as Stockport, Birmingham, Brighton, Hedrick, Wayland, they all have a place on the 911 board. There's 14 members. So that surcharge money that we get from the state every quarter comes from those cell phones and some landline charges. That money's then pooled and then sent out to all PSEPs, the Public Safety Answer Point, which is what our Jefferson County Law Center is. So if the PD department would come and to our board and request some radio equipment, they would definitely be considered and probably voted, yeah. So.
Thank you. Okay, that's all I have. City Attorney report?
Yeah, I've got a few things. I'll try not to be too long with you. First thing is, we got an order from the court since the last meeting that resolves a question about some cleanup expenses out at the, it's now called the Fairfield Mobile Home Park, but it was Leisure Living. And we had an individual out there that we had 2 campers, basically that were, one of them was hauled away and one of them was crushed. And then we had a mobile home that was in bad shape, that was somewhat cleaned up of things that had been stripped off of it. And then the yard was cleaned up, and we had a partnering between the city and a group that was retained by the park owners. The park owners group did about $4,000 worth of the work, and the city had about $700 or $800 of it in there. We submitted a certification to the court that we had spent $5,039. Last fall, we had tied up $5,000 of the monies that were destined for the person that owned the campers and the trailer. Those were in an escrow account from last September through right now. The magistrate judge on May 2nd ordered that we were to be paid the escrowed monies. And I just had a email from the clerk for our county, and she's also working out of Wapello County and oversees Van Buren, that our check has been cut. So we'll have $5,000 of that money coming back to us. And I think our clerk has already received an invoice from the private side of the partnership. I can't remember their name right now, but anyway, we'll have to pay about $4,000 over to them, and we'll keep the rest. But that's working out about the best I've seen as far as one of these cleanups where we had a way to attach some money. We're in a fight over another home up on B Street right now where we're trying to attach $18,000. He wants us to pay him $158,000 for the privilege in his counterclaim, but that's another story. But attachment can work. So this is an example of how it did.
So John,
yeah.
Augustine Property Management was the company,
Right,
and we approved payment tonight on the.
Okay.
That was under the bills tonight. So
terrific. So that's in our claims. Second thing, we talked at the last meeting, or I talked a little bit about policies for body cameras, and our code enforcement officer, in his work, the question of whether we will be benefited by having him wear a body camera when he's in situations that may become confrontational. A lot of his situations, the potential's there. It's not the most popular job in the city, and it's one of those that I think the camera tells a good story every time that it's used. The police wear body cameras, have a set of protocols and a set of policies and procedures. I was looking at those. I appreciated, I had a conversation with Dave Thomas about their procedures, and they follow them pretty closely. We can learn from the police department as far as archiving evidence that we obtain from the body camera use, and the city administration is feeling that body camera for Weston and body cameras for the rental inspectors at the fire department will be beneficial. So I'm going to try to paraphrase the policies and procedures that the police department has, which are for both car video recordings and body cameras use. They talk about policies, procedures, operational guidelines, evidence handling, and developing archives and procedures. I think if we have all those things in-house for our code enforcement officer, and they pretty much model themselves over what the police have been doing, I would say the police has not had much problem with body camera situation. It usually solves the situation and eliminates the argument if you can show what's on the body camera. As far as when we get that back to you, I think I'll bring it back through Public Safety Committee. We'll have maybe Dave there with me, and we'll kind of talk through the way these things should work.
Great.
But I think Weston and I think the rental inspectors are probably anxious to have this as an added tool. So enough about that. Third thing is grass is growing again, and so are weeds. And we have a policy right now. We've determined that our reasonably related to city purpose cost for mowing a lawn is $195. And that's for the first hour. So you can have a higher price lawn than that, but it basically covers the cost of a crew. Usually there's somebody hauling our trimming and mowing equipment, and sometimes there's more than one person helping with that, depending on what has to be lifted and how much of a chore it is. So every year we have somebody come and talk to us about how unhappy they are about having to have been mowed and so forth. And we've had a due process protocol where we send a letter, and it always indicates that we have these policies and there will be this expense, and you have so much time to fix this yourself. We usually try to follow that with a door hanger that says, we're going to be in the neighborhood and this is going to happen within 7 days. Now, I talked with Weston about this as far as some places that he's already got targeted that have knee-length grass and weeds, and just basically have been historically not willing to take care of themselves. My thinking is we may want to maybe have the council adopt, maybe even add a piece to your ordinance about all this being done, but at least a resolution and a policy, that maybe you just go to door hangers and you post the door hanger more than 7 days ahead of time if you're going to mow. Give a couple extra days, but have the door hanger have more information on it, and not. Weston said that part of the problem right now is we're spending either $5.40 or $9.40 to certify mail to people about mowing their lawn, and it's just another arguing point that we try to recoup that as a cost. Eventually, could we do anything else to make this less expensive or less tedious for the planning office in Weston and for the city crew? And so far, the door hanger with more information seems to be what they would prefer. I don't know what the council's preference is on this or whether any of your constituents complain about this at this point, but it's that time of year when it's going to start happening.
Is that a problem for a landlord?
Could be.
Because if they're not living there, do they ever get the door hanger? That's where I guess that's where your letter comes, but I guess we could probably distinguish between a homeowner and a landlord too.
We wouldn't know who is supposed to mow the lawn though, right? Because if a renter is supposed to mow the lawn.
Depends on their lease.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So if we could see their lease.
That's why we would mail to the property owner, because it would ultimately be their
responsibility.
Yeah.
Right.
But if it was just a
And it's almost always
homeowner,
rental units, isn't it?
most often.
but if it was just a homeowner, then we could do the door hanger, you think?
Anyway, we'll probably talk about this again at committee, but
Okay.
we'll bring it back to you.
Okay, great.
All right. That's all I have.
Sounds good. Yep. We really don't want to mow your yards, people. We really don't. And it's much easier to mow grass that's, a few inches than 12 inches. So, okay. Committee and board reports, property committee?
Nothing to recommend tonight. We're working on, you may have seen in the last, or 2 meetings ago, the brainstorming we did with the city administrator and the committee. And so now we're trying to We have a rough draft of an RFP, a request for proposal for the vacant lot. Hopefully we can make this RFP suitable to any vacant lot and put it into black and white and get it before council so we can get it approved and send it out. So that's where we're at right now.
Great, thank you. Ways and Means.
We met this evening. We had 3 items on the agenda. The only one that required council approval was the Main Street support, which we already did. The other 2 items on the agenda was we sat down with Ed Malloy from FIDA and discussed the housing development that will be west of the hospital, the new housing development that's that FIDA is doing, and we talked about the infrastructure and doing that in phases. I think what we're going to do is probably have Travis from Piper Sandler perform a pro forma on a TIF versus bond for funding the first phase of that project and see where we're at, and then come back and we'll present to council once we receive that. The other item was a request, no, I can't say that either. The other item concerned money for the ambulance service, so we're going to request a official request of the funds from the county for what they need exactly to fulfill that. So once we receive that, we'll bring that back to council. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Board of Adjustment minutes?
So we attached these just for council's, review. Melanie did add a memo late moment there, just letting you know that they have approved several conditional uses, and a lot of it has to do along Washington Street where it's actually zoned business. The Planning and Zoning Commission is going to be doing some reviewing of rezoning that entire area to residential, so there's not so many conditional use requests.
So the conditional use expires when the property changes hands?
Correct.
And they didn't rezone that particular lot, like Tim's lot?
Correct. Like, if it's not actually touching another residential, then you can't spot zone. So they're thinking about just rezoning the whole, I believe, half block along Washington.
So his would get zoned from R2 to R4, for example?
Ish, yeah, or B1 to
I mean, what I'm saying is, if it's in conditional use now for R4,
yeah.
It's actually zoned R2, will they adopt the conditional use zoning automatically?
Yes, it would continue on, yeah.
Okay.
As long as he's still the owner.
Right.
Yes.
And when there's a new owner, they have to come back.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean.
When are they gonna do that?
I'm not sure when the timeline is. I just know that it's going to be taken before Planning and Zoning Commission.
I mean, and this whole, I'm just gonna say, the whole off-street parking,
Mm-hmm.
Is an issue when we don't really want. I just see more and more people parking on the right-of-way.
Yeah,
And we have not enforced or made that ordinance public, even though we have it. So, because, we have to enforce it if we're gonna do it, so I think we just need to be careful here.
It's a huge part of cleaning up the city.
Absolutely.
Not just knocking down homes and building up nicer homes, but
Yep.
getting people off the right of way, controlling the flow of dirt and water around those locations.
Yep.
Curbs that get knocked down by people driving across them,
Yep,
that kind of thing.
yep. There's probably a list of things we can add to that. So, yes. Yep, I totally agree. Anyway, okay. Administrator and department reports. Doug?
Next week will be the first quarter Southeast Iowa managers meeting. We're going to get together in Mount Pleasant. It's where city managers and city administrators from around the region get together and share ideas. It's extremely important that we do this, that we not only aren't reinventing the wheel in many aspects, we're helping one another, but also talking about issues we may be having and somebody may have faced those very same things, and we talk about our successes, what works, what doesn't work. So it's really important. I'm kind of excited about going. It's my first one since I've been in Iowa. Again, we're going to say this over and over again. Spring is in full swing. I was on the radio, wanted to talk about the fact that lawns are growing very, very high. There are lots of people out there that may not be able to afford to mow their lawns. They may be too elderly to mow their lawns. They may not have the capacity to do so. Yes, the city will come and mow your lawn for you after a few warnings. But if you realize that your neighbor is in need, maybe we can step up to the plate as a community and help them out so we don't have these issues and that we're being good neighbors. It's really important that we think about those things. We've talked about the Beautification Committee and their events already. I also want to talk about the lawn meters, that this is the time of year that people are starting to fill their swimming pools and water their gardens, and they will come to the city for water adjustments, and we encourage them to install lawn meters, and the sewer charge is eliminated, but they have that 1 meter and it only calculates the water usage. Water is relatively inexpensive, and if you have a lawn meter, then we will only charge you for the water and the actual meter fee that they have every month, which is a lot smaller than the sewer rates. They are having the street sweeper come in on the last Thursdays of April, May, June, July, August, September, and October. So the street sweepers will be coming in at the scheduled time. So please make sure that vehicles are off the square so that we can have those streets cleaned. And then lastly, something that is not on my report that came in later in the week before this was published, is we will be opening, or actually I'm asking the council for the head nod to open the compost site on Wednesday evening through Thursday, and then close it back up on Thursday evening when they leave, so that people that mow during the week can come and dispose of their grass, but we can still maintain this control until we get something else figured out with the compost site, that they can dispose of their grass and not hold on to it all week long and then have to go on the weekends. What we're doing right now, the practice that we're in the middle of, is working. We are reducing the amount of material that is coming in, but we have realized that we are bringing in far more material, and we have far more material than we can utilize, and we have to do something. We have now gotten to the point to where that we can almost not accept material. So I have been in discussions with the Department of Natural Resources, and the only alternative, they are coming to look at the site because there's lots of decomposition of the materials and where it's going, and the fact that it's getting extremely tall. But having the discussions that since we do not have an alternative burn site, that we need to dispose of this material, so we are talking about burning it in its place. We'll divide up what we can use, but this is a decade-old problem, but we've gotten to the point that where we have no room to move and our backs are against the wall. So those are the discussions that we're having right now, and after those people come in, then we will present a plan, and then we will notify the public. But most likely the only way that we can receive the material that comes in is we're going to have to dispose of it. And I've called other communities and asked them if they could use it, if they could take it, if there's, I've done all sorts of contact and with other areas, and then I've reached out to the RAC, and I think that was Thursday, and Doug was there for a little while. Thursday morning, but then he had left, but had discussions with them, and we were talking about different ways that we can use this material, and actually maybe somehow presenting a business plan and encouraging someone to maybe turn this composting into some sort of a business. So the RAC is actually going to help kind of figure out a design for a business plan, and then maybe we can get some community partners to help us solve this community problem. We've been very, very kind for several decades, and people have taken advantage of the city, and now it has gotten to the point to where it is affecting the entire community, and we have to think about the greatest good for the greatest number, and that's what we're going to do. And have to take this position to where we're going to work through this together, but not everybody's going to agree, but we have to fix this. We've been talking about it for a year and a half, but it is now time that we get together and we fix it. And I think we're going to have to fix it right where it sits. That's all I've got for this evening.
Great, thanks. I just want to note one thing on mowing, and that is just a little reminder to not mow your grass so that it goes out into the street. That is against ordinance. It also makes it very slick for bicyclists, motorcyclists. So it becomes a danger. So please mow the other way along the curb so it stays in your right of way.
It also ends up in the stormwater system.
Yes, absolutely, and can clog things up. So, yep.
Oh,
Just a little reminder.
Add really quick too to Doug's comment on the recycling or the compost. That's become over a 6-figure expense to the city now with no revenue to offset that at all. So,
Absolutely.
and it's only getting bigger.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it's true. Okay, great. So, just as a side note here on the adjournment, our next meeting is Tuesday, May 28th, because the 27th is Memorial Day. So, again, our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 28th, so we will adjourn till that day. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Moved by Toohill,
Second.
moved by Ham.
Good job.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great, thank you. Meeting adjourned.
I thought we were going to be here.